Most of us spend our lives running from one truth we can't escape, and that's death. But what if understanding death could teach us how to live better, love deeper, and show up for one another with more compassion? Today, we sit down with someone who's turned that truth into purpose. She's a certified end-of-life doula and death literacy specialist who spent decades walking alongside the dying and teaching the living how to prepare, support, and heal. From corporate boardrooms to hospice rooms, from the Ironman course to quiet vigils, she's seen life full circle. This is a conversation about courage, compassion, and clarity. This is Eagles Don't Quack, and today we're joined by Shawna Barlette. Let's chop it up. Shawna, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. What an honor to be here today, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us, and I'm so grateful that you're here. So let's get started. So tell us a little bit about Shawna. Where did you grow up? A little bit about your childhood. Who is Shawna Barlette?
You know, I'm still discovering that answer. I am what's called an Air Force brat. I was raised in the military. My father, who actually was a defining part of who I am, was a pilot in the Strategic Air Command. He flew B-52 bombers during the Cold War.
Oh.
So, and I didn't learn a lot about what exactly was that until much later in life because of his work. You know, they're not allowed to talk about what they did. But I spent most of my childhood, I lived in England. I lived all over missile bases, air bases, all over. But if you've ever seen the movie The Great Santini, that's my father. So I had kind of this like love-hate relationship with this person growing up. I wanted to be everything that he was and nothing that he was. But he taught me a lot just in terms of, discipline and what can we achieve as humans? Why are we here? It was an amazing childhood, and I was exposed to a lot of different really cool things. I've had a pretty long and interesting life that's led me to where I am today. I think from a very young age, had this niggling. I call it a niggling. It's like an interesting word, sort of this persistent, hey, you're supposed to be helping people. I grew up thinking I wanted to be a doctor, but my father, in a classic pilot style, is like, well, you're on your own, kid. It's like, okay, well, then I guess I'll go be an accountant and I can put money in the bank doing that. But along the way, I always was like, even on the playground, little kids would come up to me, can you help me? And can you do this for me? Or I'd be in the grocery store and they're like, it must be a neon sign on my forehead. You can talk to me, and people tell me their life story while I'm trying to cash out. So that calling has always been this like persistent little niggling thing, right? That I suddenly couldn't ignore. When I was 28, my first husband died suddenly of a heart attack. So I was 28 years old, and that brought so much fear, and I had no idea what to do, how to act, what to say, none whatsoever. And that was just like sort of this beginning of like, you cannot ignore this anymore. And then I went through a long period until I lost her. My sister experienced suicidality her whole adult life, and I was her only sister. And my mother saw me as sort of like, she can help. I was like, I don't know how you think I can help you. It's like, but I'm getting serious phone calls, very serious. That led me down a path that we'll talk about more, where I decided I needed to get some formal training on how to deal with this, because this is very harmful to me and the people around. And I don't want to be the person and I'm not that person. I don't ignore things, right? I'm a solution-oriented person, and there's got to be a way that we can help people. And show me what that is. So there's, like I said, I told somebody the other day, I said, there's a lot of life already, and I feel like I've got a lot more to go.
Well, you do. And it's like the moment that I met you for the first time, you could tell there was something different about you. I say repetitively with a lot of my guests that some people get to choose, but others are chosen. And you are one of those ones that also you're chosen for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's identified early. Like you walking in this manifestation and you don't even know it. But when you get older, it's like, aha, I saw that when I was a child. This has been me the entire time. So You said you was a military brat. Were you born in the States or were you born overseas?
I was born on an Air Force base in, let me see, Missouri. I wasn't there very long. So I was in an Air Force base, Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. My father was stationed in England, 1960 through 1965. That was during the Cold War. So I grew up and went to school in a Quonset hut on an air base in England that 20 years later, like you had said, so much comes around later, right? 20 years later, I read an article that, Bryce Norton has been declassified and decommissioned. And I'm like, what do you mean by declassified? Oh, it's a big secret airbase. I'm like, wasn't a big secret to me.
When I was there,
That's when I went to school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, right? So I grew up kind of on the inside of what I'm going to call a big fence. There's always a big fence. And now, after my dad's retirement, we had moved to Colorado from a missile base in Glasgow, Montana, right on the border. It was a missile base. Retired to Colorado, and now I'm on the other side of the fence. And wow, this is different.
You mentioned that, you at one point wanted to be a doctor. I too wanted to. When I went to school, I majored in pre-med and engineering, and I wanted to be a doctor, but you start making money and other stuff, and you be like, I can do that later, and you never do.
Yeah, life happens.
Life happens. And when I got sick and diagnosed with cancer, it spoke to me when I went to the hospital. It spoke to me. And sometimes people say, well, how did you know that's the place that you needed to be? The Lineberger Center at UNC Chapel Hill, I built that building. Didn't know many years later I would be coming back to the
building.
In the building. And then when I got in the building, it had Tony Williams' lobby on the wall. I was like, okay, this is a sign. This is where I really supposed to be. And I think sometimes these things hit us in life like these little markers that happen in your life that you can recall back later when you need them in such a time as this. So if you've had a very interesting career that's not typical, so let's just dive into it. How did you get into end of life care and deaf literacy? But before you get started, what is that? Let's define.
Let's define deaf literacy. Okay, so I am a deaf literacy specialist. I'm also certified end of life doula. A deaf literacy specialist, by the way, this podcast, Tony, is deaf literacy. And this is exactly what it is. But I promote healthy preparedness by encouraging a personalized process of reflecting back, turning inward, and planning ahead. I am an advocate. I provide education and supportive guidance to really encourage people to reimburse the end of life at the individual level as well as a society. Our society doesn't do this very well. A lot of them do. First of all, I think this topic is huge, Tony. We could probably have 20 hours of conversation about the topic is big. So a lot of this that I'm going to talk about is really going to be kind of flyovers, give folks sort of like a flavor for it. But I really advocate for self-determination. That's probably the most important thing to me. And being an end-of-life doula, so like you said, it's very, very, very interesting. Now that I am that, and now that I am fully in my purpose, my life purpose, I look back on that decision my father made to not send me to medical school and say, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful because, and we'll talk about this later as well, the medical community is really constrained by a lot of policies, procedures, their protocol. And there's a place and time for that. But what was missing and what I get to provide is that heart-centered support, right? That they cannot, or they just can't. But that's what an end-of-life doula will do. It's huge. There's more that you can learn about it, but you don't have to be dying to talk to an end-of-life doula at all, because what we want to do, again, is to really teach self-determination, teach planning, teach people that once you embrace sort of that reality, right, that we will die. It isn't a question of when, it's a question of when. It's a reality. That's the humanness that we experience. And once we embrace that and fully understand and plan for it and express our wishes for that, that's when we're free to suddenly, it's just like this, like break a chain. Now I can live.
I can relate to this because my cancer, they, statistics, which I didn't pay that any attention because I wanted to be on the good side of that. But they told me 1 to 3 years with my prognosis. And so this is year 4, right? And so when you go, you're being inundated with a lot of information. First, you're trying to understand, am I going to die? What's going to happen with me? But the thing that shocked me the most was having to put my end of life affairs in order. And they give you a counselor because they know this is a lot and you're trying to process a lot. And to make a long story short, I really didn't start to live, Shawna, until I embraced the fact that my time is not my time anyway, and death is inevitable. And when I embraced that and became not afraid of that,
Mm-hmm.
I started to truly live. It was
Us.
like I was free. Death had no more bondage over me because I've looked it in the face and said, if we're going to do this dance, we're going to do this dance.
We're going
But
to do
you're
it.
not going to stranglehold me and choke me on the way
No.
down. So,
No, I
yes.
mean, yeah, we can't choose. I mean, we don't get to choose the how,
Yeah.
and we don't get to choose the when, but we surely, this is what I help with, we surely have a lot to say about the control of how that happens and where that happens and under what circumstance and who's going to be there. And, and that embracing of those ideas, that sitting with somebody and putting that in writing, making these choices and thinking that through ahead of time, that's what frees us. Because it's like I love what you said about put your affairs in order. I hear that a lot. I sit here and tell you, Tony, my affairs are in order. I don't have a terminal diagnosis, but I may not be here tomorrow.
That's right.
But
That's
my
right.
affairs are in order. You don't have to be, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can be 15 years old and have your affairs in order.
That's right.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's right.
No, not at all. So, yeah, I think that's, for me, I want to really help people. And that's why I'm so grateful for my father saying, don't go into medicine. It's like, I want to help people, let's really unpack this. Let's confront that fear, normalize what we all know to be true, right? We all know. I believe that medical teams often fear death, as does our society. And what that does is it creates this cycle of oppression and of avoidance, evasion, that actually fails all of us in the end. That will fail us. So that, I think, that thing alone is what makes us feel so alone when we face death or grief. When that comes, we feel alone because we are in a society that really suppresses and avoids that topic like it's the plague. But it's like that's just the most normal thing in the world. It's like I
How
can't.
do you process, Shawna, like when you are being introduced to a family or they find you, and you've been doing this a period of time, how do you compartmentalize the grief and everything that comes with that? Because at the end, you're still a human and you're onboarding all these emotions and these things. How do you process that and you still stay sane?
Well, number one, it's my calling. So I'm fully engaged in my life purpose. So that I think guides me. But when people say, and you said it, this is a heavy topic. How do you survive that? I say, let me carry that for you. Okay. Because it's not heavy for me. And when I'm in my life purpose, I'm here. I am here to hear you, to feel you, to hold you up if I have to. I have huge shoulders. I'm very strong mentally, physically, and spiritually, strong enough to really help you process that and spend enough time talking to a lot of people. We'll talk about it, suicide prevention hotline, to really kind of understand what does it mean to just simply be present and offer support. Because I don't have to do anything special. It's nothing special, but I do have a pretty intense, well-practiced self-care plan
Mm-hmm.
that I do.
Mhm.
When I have a heavy day, and they are heavy, I'm not saying they're not. I'm really like, I'll retreat to, like, music. I retreat to quiet. Start every day with 2 hours of absolute quiet. Do nothing. I drink my tea, open the door, and just think about how grateful I am to hear the birds and that I'm alive, and that I'm, as you said, chosen to help people through, some pretty scary, dark periods of their life, and to help them to see how beautiful and wonderful this life is.
What is some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about death?
There's quite a few. I can't speak for anybody's in particular. I can't. I think probably the number one that I hear from people, from clients, is fear of pain. That's number one. Fear of losing and leaving behind our loved ones. That's number two. So those are two big fears. The first one, pain management pain can be mitigated. There's a number of ways. You don't have to use medication, but there's a lot of different ways to mitigate pain. And fortunately for us here in this country, we have hospice, we have palliative care, we have people that can offer pain management strategies. I myself can offer pain management strategies using, like, just meditation or just quiet thinking. For me, the best way to deal with things is just, like I said, just take it out and let's talk about this. Fear of leaving people behind, that I encourage the people that are around them, the loved ones, let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation. Let's let that person know how much we appreciate them and how important they were to us. Right. And really, like, I think the Hawaiians have a saying, the Ho'opono saying, like, it's like, I love you. I'm sorry for this. I forgive you for this. So it's going through this process of, just really kind of defining what was my life about, what is my legacy, and as again, self-determination. I want everyone to know how important they are. It doesn't matter what they think. You are the most important person in the world because you existed.
I love that you said that. You also said that if a dying person is supported properly, their family heals better. What
Mhm.
does that mean?
Giving them knowledge and, like, demystifying the myths that surround death, like, oh, it's going to be painful, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Giving them that knowledge, really just taking that fear, you poke a pin in that bubble called fear. That gives you power over yourself. That gives you this, like, I know that I can, I'm here for this. I'm going to be okay. They're going to be okay. It really normalizes that eventuality, of sort of like what's happening here. I also, and I know that you're a business person. You might know about this, and anyone else who has been in business that has, like, inventory product. You might have heard of the just-in-time inventories as a strategy. I utilize that just-in-time education. Right. So I will not tell somebody at the very beginning of a journey that, okay, this is what's going to happen when you actually do die. I don't do that, because I kind of want to very slowly, very gently, with all the compassion in the world, walk them through a process of self discovery. Of, let's talk about what our legacy is, maybe put together some legacy information, some projects. And then I'm going to start talking about, as we get closer and closer, I'm going to start filling in, mostly the caregivers. Okay, here's what we can expect. Along the way, part of what I do in terms of support is connection. I'm going to connect people to any resources that we need. I am what I call a GSD kid, get stuff done kid. I have a really big background. Yeah, I have a big background, and I bring that to bear in my doula work. Like, you need something, it's there the next day, right? And I can recognize, like, somebody who might be inappropriately grieving, as an example. I can recognize that, and I will connect you almost immediately with a resource that's going to be able to help you. I'm not a person to sit back and, like, just kind of watch. No, I'm the one that's supposed to be here to help you. That's what I'm here for, is to help you. So it's difficult to get folks to talk about fear, and that's okay, Tony. Everybody's different, right? I've had clients that will go all the way till the very end. I don't want to talk about it, and I'm going to
Yeah.
say that's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally okay. But if you do, and I'll keep asking, right? I'll keep asking in different ways and see if I can't get them to tease that out a little bit. But if you do, I'm here for it. I'm
I
here for it.
believe fear and doubt are like first cousins.
Aren't they?
They're in the same field, you know.
Aren't they? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've had losses in your life.
Mhm.
What did that teach you? How do you apply this to yourself when it comes to personal losses that you've experienced?
I think so my losses have death has been my companion for my entire life. The more losses that I had, the more I'm like embracing, what does it mean to be present? What does that really, really mean? What does it mean to confront fear? What does it mean to be brave and to have courage and to start a conversation that no one wants to have? So my very first sort of unofficial doula work was with my mother, who actually died the day after I qualified for Ironman.
Man.
The day after. And I knew that was coming. And so like I raced for her, right?
Right.
It's like, I'm going to do this for you because she was a big cheerleader for
Mhm.
me. But the October before the race, she went into hospice and I lived in Hawaii. So I flew back to her. She lived in Wichita. I bought a book called Deathing. And I'm like, I'm going for it. I'm just going to go for this. This is my mother. I want to give her the best experience that I possibly can. I went in there in her house, her and my stepdad. I said, lock the door. We're not leaving for a couple days. And we literally spent 3 days. We went through that book, Deathing, has a bunch of little exercises and sayings. And so that was kind of my first exposure to let's ask a hard question. Like, where do you want to die? That's a hard question. Do you want to be in a hospital or do you want to be at home? She said, I want to be at home. And I looked at my stepdad and I said, I'll never forget this, Tony. I said, are you okay with that? And these are just like, I'm just found the courage to find my tongue, right? And basically say what needed to be said. And at the end of the day, she had the most amazing experience with hospice and an amazing death. It was really everything that she had asked me for. I made sure it happened.
Do most people even get asked that question? I'm trying to recall
No,
all the people that I've lost in my life, and I don't know if nobody even ever asked them that.
no. And that's what I think a really good death doula is going to do because I want to know how can I help you? How can I ensure that what your deepest desires and wishes are actually happen if I don't ask you?
My grandfather died from cancer, and I recall him being in the hospital and his children and grandkids. I'm the oldest grandkid, and we all was there. I remember his last moments, and when you said that, I was thinking like, man, what if he could have came home and and took in all the memories of being in
Right.
that safe place
Right.
while he transitioned versus being in a hospital hooked up with tubes and seeing everybody crying. That is powerful what you just said.
There's some history here.
Yeah.
So pre-Civil War, doula, the word doula is Greek for to serve. And that's my calling is to really serve people. So before the Civil War, we had multi-generational homes. So we had more than one generation living in a home, probably on a farm, right? We were still pretty rural. We were born, we lived, and we died in that house. And we were probably laid out on the dining room table. And all of our friends and family all came to see us as we're there. And then
Man.
we very lovingly prepared this person for burial. And we very lovingly took them ourselves, right, out to the cemetery. And we had a goodbye, a celebration of their life. The Civil War happened, and mothers' children, young men, were dying hundreds and hundreds of miles away from their house. And mamas, myself, I would have been the same way. I want my baby back. How do I get my baby back? To bury my baby here in my own backyard, right? And enter embalming, right? So embalming began because, hey, this is a way we can do this. We will embalm this person. We'll send them home, and then you can have your funeral. That turned into an entire industry, a funeral
Yeah.
industry. So death doulas, end of life doulas, we're seeing kind of a resurgence because I think that people really, we want to return to a more simpler time. And like you said, one where we can control the environment we're in. Maybe I want to be at the beach. I tell people, you want to be at the beach? I'm going to put you in my car and I'm going to drive you there. That's what I can do for you. Even at the hospice home, when I worked there, they had these double French doors and the hospital beds are on wheels. So guess what? You want to be outside? Boom, the doors got open and you're outside.
It's about, I'm reflecting on your conversation. You brought up that time period, and thank you because I'm pretty sure a lot of our listeners didn't know the historic aspect of how these things came about. And you mentioned the Civil War and people dying and family being around. And I extracted from another conversation I heard you on the podcast. It's about dying with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what this gives a person.
It does.
And I was thinking, ancestrally, as far as, slavery and things like that, how oftentimes the dying with dignity was removed and you didn't die with dignity. And so it's
No,
just a lot of things that in your conversation is bringing up reflection.
it's
And
true.
people need to die with dignity and be in that safe space. And you said the mom, I just want to be with my child and all these things. So death has a legacy of these different emotional responses that I'm sure all types of people have had. And I'm pretty sure you have to deal with that as
I've
well.
had it in my personal life. My father died in New Mexico. And when I got the phone call that he had died of a sudden heart attack, I asked about, okay, services, what are we doing? And my stepmom said, well, he's donated his body to science. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that, right? That's his choice because self-determination. But when I hung up the phone, Tony, I felt robbed. I felt really robbed of this place and time to grieve this person, right? And to start some kind of bereavement process. So I remember sitting out in a hammock, just kind of swinging, going, what just happened?
What just happened?
What just happened? Right. And so a lot of these, these deaths that have happened, like I said, I've lost almost everybody near and dear to me, have really steered how I approach death and dying and how I approach dignity and how I want to just really be there for that person and just give them honest truth. I live somewhere between optimist and pessimist. I'm a realist. Yeah, I live somewhere in the middle there. I can be an optimist when I need to be, and sometimes I can be a little pessimistic, but for the most part, I want to be a realist. Yeah, because I've been taught lessons. I'm someone who learns pretty much the first time, right? And so I have dealt with dignity on a really gut wrenching level. I lost my husband to alcoholic liver failure, and I checked him out of the hospital, the ER, AMA, against medical advice, and took him home. And he died 6 days later in my living room, not in a hospital hooked up. No, we're not doing that. Because I felt like, okay, here's a person who I had all the emotions about alcoholism and losing him. But at the end of the day, those last 6 days, I wanted to give him the dignity that he deserved as a human being.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I think that is fleeting in this society.
He deserved it. A year later, I lost my sister to drug addiction. And again, she was in a hospital. I flew out there. She was in a hospital. They stuck her in this corner room that, we don't deal with addicts here. We just want them out of here. And I'm like, I'm checking her out, checked her out, also did the same exact thing, got her into an assisted living, small facility, it was eight bed facility. And she died a day later, but she died in a warm bed with a stuffed bunny rabbit that I gave her, knowing that she was loved and cared for and had that dignity that she couldn't give herself during life. And it's just so important. These are things that I think that also, they're not only important for the person who's dying, they're very important for the person left behind. Knowing that, I did everything that I could, no guilt. I don't want to feel like I should have done something, or I didn't know what they wanted, or, did I do the right thing? Yeah, I'm going to teach you, that's my involvement. I'm going to teach you, let's do the right thing. Let's do the thing that this person is telling us that they want. It doesn't matter how kind of ridiculous that might sound, right? Because it might. Somebody might say, and I can get ridiculous, and I try to be funny when I talk to people. Like, say, I want to be, I want my ashes to be shot out into space. Okay, I don't know that we could do that, but creative idea number one, let's get a couple of bottle rockets and we'll put some ashes in there, right? So I'm going to look for a solution, all right, to help fulfill your wishes and give you all the information, all the options that you probably weren't given. Most likely you weren't. To me, getting these options after a death, having your loved ones like go to a funeral home and be explained a couple of things, that's not what I call given options. Those are options.
You are a great listener, and I think your listening skills have to be perfected in this industry because you have to hear what people are saying or what they aren't saying.
It's both.
Right. And so you mentioned suicide prevention, and I want to talk a little bit about that. How did you get into that? Tell us a little bit about that background.
Again, my sister was suicidal. She had 8 attempts on her life, 8 of them. And my husband, well, it wasn't my husband. So my mom had been calling me and like telling me, because my sister would call her and then my mother would call me and then I would be like, oh gosh, what am I supposed to do? I decided that I needed to get some training to protect myself. It was really to protect me because fear and anxiety and panic, that's stuff that's really hard on you physiologically. That's hard on your body. And so I really wanted to understand, what can I do? This is not going away. That's the thing, is like, you can stick your head in the sand, but this is not going away. So I contacted the Suicide Prevention United Way, is the organization, and said, will you train me? And they said, we'd be happy to, but you have to give us 1 year answering the hotline. And I said, fair trade. I have been provided 30 hours. That's a lot. 30 hours of active listening skills. I also learned 2 super important things that I use every single engagement that I have. One is I know how to assess somebody very quickly. I need to get your trust in 5 minutes or less because you are in crisis, right? So I need to be able to do an assessment on you. The assessment takes about a minute. So I learned how to ask some really, really hard questions. I don't even have to say what they are. They're hard questions. And then I would de-escalate if necessary. So I know how to de-escalate a situation. I could do that on the road. I could do that outside. I could do that anywhere. I can de-escalate. So I want to de-escalate that person. And then I want to connect that person. So the first connection is with me, right? It's just me. I'm just present. I'm here. I'm all ears, no waiting. I'm listening. I'm here for you. All I have to do is answer the phone. I will also then, as part of that process of listening, figure out what do they need, what could help right now. That might be connecting them with the teddy bear that's in the corner, right? Or it might be connecting them with a psychiatrist or, some outside help. There have been a couple of calls I took where I had 2 phones on the desk and one of them was to the police. So I'm going to save your life, right? I'm going to do that. What it taught me that I use now is how to sit with people in a really dark place. So being suicidal, wanting to end your life, is the darkest place you could probably ever find yourself in. And I'm don't do it, call me, right? That's me. It's a dark place, but a lot of people see death as a dark place also. So I know how to sit and be with somebody, just offer my support and just be honest and just really be there. I don't need to say anything. My presence is enough. You're not alone. You are not alone. And if I know you, you won't walk this path alone. No one dies alone in my world. Right. So that's what it taught me. It also taught me the value of letting go. I never knew who I talked to. I never knew how it turned out. So I would do a 4-hour shift every week. I was in California, so it was busy. And it was also, I started the day after Kurt Cobain committed suicide. So there was a big copycat type thing going on. So I got a lot of heavy calls right away. But I learned how to hang up that phone and just know that I did the best that I could right then with what I had to work with. And I'm not connected to any outcome because I'm not going to know, right? I just need to move to that next person who needs somebody to answer the phone. It's the same in death care. I'm going to sit with you and I'm going to work with you. I'm going to hear you and feel you and be with you as we work through some dark things and some fun things. There are some really great conversations that I do have with people, but I think suicide prevention was really what a great place to learn how to listen. I know a bunch of different ways of listening too. There's more than one. It depends. It really does depend on that initial assessment. What am I dealing with here? Right. And that's how death care is as well. I come in, I meet you. Hi, I'm Shawna. Talk to me. Right. Because I need to get a feel. I need to get you, the person I'm across from, to trust me very quickly. Trust me. You're safe. I'm going to create this safe place for you.
Well, let's slow down. Let's talk about that. You said there's different ways people can communicate. For our listeners out here, what are some of the ways that we communicate other than verbally?
Well, my favorite one is touch. That is my favorite, my most favorite one. And that doesn't need to be a big deal. That can be a light touch on your shoulder. That's an acknowledgement. I'm connecting with you. So I feel like there's energy between us. If I could reach out and touch you right now, I would.
Mm-hmm.
So touch is a big one. Eye contact is huge. I want to always be looking and focused on you because that tells them that I respect you. Like, I'm not like daydreaming and I'm not looking at my phone. I turn my phone off. It's off right now whenever I'm with somebody because I want you to respect me. I want you to trust me. I want you to know that what you tell me goes nowhere. Nowhere. Unless you tell me that. And I'll ask for permission. I will ask for permission. There's different ways of speaking, like the different ways of listening. We can do two kinds. One is like open-ended, like what you and I are doing right now. Tell me about a time, blah, blah. Or we can be very directorial, which we might need to be if somebody's in crisis. We might need to be. So I've learned how to do that. Different kinds of listening include like reflective listening. Like I would say, okay, so Tony, it sounds to me like you are sad, right? That's reflective because what I want to do is invite you. So it's an invitation for you to continue talking. Another super powerful tool, I guess is what I call it in my toolbox, is pause, say nothing. Humans have this need to fill space with noise. So if we're talking and suddenly the conversation stops, if I were to stop talking right now, it gets uncomfortable, right? And people like feel like they need to say something. I can use that incredibly effectively. Especially if I'm feeling like we're having a conversation that's really tough and they're having a hard time telling me. One sentence will come out and I'll just stop and then they'll say another sentence.
Mm-hmm.
That works with everyone.
We could definitely use this now in this climate, right? Just pause and
Just
don't
pause.
say nothing. Sit there.
Just sit. Just sit. You don't need to do or say anything. Just sit.
Yeah.
It's so important. Just be. I call that just be.
Let me, you mentioned that volunteerism was very important. I think, I call this kind of work doctors and advocates and doulas. I call this angel work because it's that work that you often don't get a monetary reward for.
Correct.
And so as Shawna is pouring out, because this is what you're doing, you're pouring out into others. How do you get your cup filled?
That's a great question, Tony. And I have a great answer for you. When I pour out like that, it fills my soul. Yeah. So when I'm pouring out, it fills my soul.
Filling you back up.
It literally is. And the more I do it, the more I'm full. My life is just amazing. I had a super hard client, or not client, when I was volunteering for the hospice home. Really hard. It was tough. Witnessing pain is really difficult. Witnessing family's pain is super emotional. It was just like the most present that I felt like I needed to be in any engagement that I've ever had. And when I left the room after he passed, I was always required to go to the front office after a passing because they support us too. And they asked us to, like, hey, you need to talk to somebody. We're going to help you through this. And I just walked in the room. And I'll never forget this. And she goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like smiling, and I'm like, wow. Wow. I mean, that was the most incredible experience so far. I mean, so that's how I know I'm fully engaged in my life purpose. Because
I can see it now. And you guys can't see her. I can see her face. It is glowing. It is like you can see just woo.
It fills my soul.
It fills your soul.
Do I do this for money? No, because that's not what it's about. That is not what it's about. So yeah, I don't need to fill it up, because the process of doing that gift, it's a gift. It's a gift that I was given, and I found out, maybe in my 20s, that you better be giving that gift away, girlfriend.
That's right. That's
because
right.
if you don't, it's going to consume you.
That's right. So, it is not yours to keep to yourself.
No, and I knew that, and I do know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That whole process, I opened up my door this morning, and I'm just like the most grateful person. I got up early today because I was having this conversation. Small little detail.
Yeah.
So I got up early and opened up the door, and outside my window was like the Orion constellation and Venus. And suddenly I'm like, I'm so grateful that I opened my eyes and I'm alive. Mm-hmm. I am alive. Yeah. I'm here. I'm to serve. I'm going to get on this call today, and I'm going to hopefully reach one person. That's all it takes is one, right? And right? You have one that you're reaching. You're reaching me. I definitely appreciate you've always been one to send kind words, and your thoughts with me along this journey. And that is like, I can't express the gratitude for you. For doing that. Like I said, that fills my soul. And thank you for saying that. That validates my gift. That it does, but I'm not looking for that. Again, that's like, I'm not looking for any, to me, compassion needs to be, if it's just to be given. You cannot give love expecting to receive something back. Right. That is right. You cannot. Right. And the reason is, and I think it took me a while to understand this. When you give that much love and compassion, that gift, when you give it freely without any expectations, guess what comes back? Love and compassion. It comes back. Don't expect that. Just give. Give with all your heart, and you'll get. Unconditionally. There's the Bible speaks about the greatest of these is charity, love. That's the greatest. It is. Like I have two hallmarks that, and we did talk a little bit about suicide prevention. I trained some folks up there, and I train what I was trained, which is biggest thing of all, non-judgment. Who am I to judge you? I don't have any judgment whatsoever. I meet you right where you are. Right where you are. Amen. Amen to that. Man. Yeah, you want to do a quick rapid fire? Sure. Some rapid fire. So okay. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Death can be a heavy topic. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning so much from you. So let's say, what's your favorite outdoor activity? So I now have 3 body part replacements. Right. Yeah. So I have 2 double hip replacements and an elbow replacement. So my favorite outdoor activity is now an indoor activity. Which is strength training. Really, like, I use that as my meditation, my Prozac. I mean, it does a whole lot of different things for me. It keeps me strong, body, spirit, mind, all of it. I need that triangle to be who I am. Love that. I have to have that. So I do like to hike. I do like to travel. I do like to do those things. But my favorite is, indoor. Go-to comfort food. Man, dude, that's chocolate. Chocolate. All right. Man. All right. White or dark chocolate or any dark. Well, any chocolate. It can be Halloween candy. I've been known to steal my grandkids' candy. Like, oh, dude, dump that out. I'm taking this, and this. So you like chocolate? I get in trouble with it. It's trouble for me, but that is definitely a comfort food for me. What's the best chocolate? Let me see. You've been overseas, so I know you had some good chocolate. You know, the best chocolate I ever had, and I got in trouble. I ate all of it. Switzerland, Swiss chocolate. I went in and bought 6 truffles at this truffle store in Lucerne. I sat down on the lake and I ate all 6, and I was immediately regretful. I was like, oh man, those were good, but I feel sick.
I don't feel too
I
good.
don't feel good.
My
Swiss
God.
chocolate is pretty good, but I also enjoy, peanut butter M&Ms.
Yeah. I'm a Reese's Cup guy.
Yeah. Oh, those two.
I
Yeah.
love.
Do you eat the edge off and then the middle, or do you just go?
eat it
You
all
just
in
go right
one
on.
bite.
You just go right in.
Like that owl. Remember that commercial? The owl said how many licks it take to do a Tootsie Roll or whatever. You remember that commercial?
Yes.
Yeah. That's me with that.
None.
Look, Iron Man or triathlon?
Well, Ironman is a triathlon, but it is a life experience. I like triathlon. So there's a long backstory on that. You probably know a little bit about it. I wanted to do Ironman so bad, and I wanted to learn triathlon. I was a runner. I ran all through elementary school, but small problem. I was water phobic and I didn't know how to swim.
Yeah.
Like a long story, like I had to learn how to swim to do that. That race actually taught me some pretty cool things. Probably the most important is I can do anything. I can do anything. And I have, that was the place where I confronted my fear, my own personal fear. So I know what fear is. I'm very well acquainted, but I also know that you can confront it and you can break it down into little tiny digestible pieces and you can overcome that.
That's a good life lesson.
Yeah, it's a good one.
If you guys are listening, she just broke it down. Break it down into small.
Just break it down into little tiny digestible pieces, one little thing at a time. And then by the time you get to the end of that, guess what? You're better.
You better.
So
Bandit the cat. Let's talk about Bandit the cat.
Bandit.
What is the funniest thing that Bandit does?
So I just posted this the other day. My cat, I just discovered this, I actually Googled it, is he has a pathological attachment disorder.
Okay, so now you got to explain what that is.
So you know what Velcro is, right?
I
have a Velcro kitty.
My. So
and I'm
right there with you now.
I closed the door. The door's closed.
Yeah.
I told you can't come in here. I mean, he's a rescue cat. I think he and I are both grateful for each other. I don't know how he survived without me. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think that, it's annoying at times, but it's also really endearing. Like to have an animal, like this morning before I got up and saw the Orion constellation, he was laying on top of me purring. And I was kind of musing on, this is kind of cool to have this creature, that just adores me unquestionably. Again, no judgment, lays on me and tells me how much he loves me.
Look, I have a boxer, Fiona.
Yeah.
Fiona.
I've seen,
it's like she knows. When I first got diagnosed, she was already clingy and we just had this synergy. But when I got sick, she would not leave my side. She's outside the door now. I did the same thing. I had to close
the door.
She sat at my bedside. She wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
She wouldn't leave to eat. It's like she could smell it and she knew something is wrong with my dude.
They do. Animals are pretty amazing. When I got my very first COVID shot, laid me out for like 3 days. But I remember every single time, like you, every time I'd open my eyes and look, he's sitting right there like 3 inches away from my face. Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm okay, right? Okay, I'm not leaving. That's animals. They're really cool. It's my companion. It's my reason for coming home every day, Bandit. But he's a character. I'm the only person he'll do that with, too. I don't know about Fiona.
Yeah, she doesn't do
Bandit doesn't like anyone else. Just me.
He doesn't. So next travel destination. You're a world traveler, but if you could go anywhere in the world, let's say, Shawna, if I say I'm going to send you somewhere, Shawna, for the rest of your life and you can pick the place and I'll take care of everything, where would that place be? Wow.
Well, right now I'm actually trying to talk my daughter into this. I know she's going to hear this. I'm wanting to go to Iceland and drive the ring road and just experience that landscape. And those people, right? I would say that's like one place. I've kind of got my eye on something in Africa. Never been to that continent. I have a chance to actually go to Morocco next year. I'm thinking about it. Maybe. But if there was any place I could go and you would take care of everything.
Everything.
I'm going back to Japan.
Whoa, why?
I'm going back. I had a hard time getting on the plane coming here. It was like that culture just knocked my socks off. It just really knocked my socks off. I was there last year, and I'd definitely go back there.
So that's a recommendation.
Definitely.
Japan.
Never
heard anybody say that.
So different than what we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really enjoyed about it, is really, if you want to hit a culture that you've never experienced, that's it. They were a closed culture for thousands of years. They were a completely closed culture. So they developed very independently of all of the trappings of some of our society has. And they have this level, and here's what I really enjoy about them, Tony. They have this level of respect for each other that we could take a lesson.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
We could take a lesson. So, yeah.
You have been dropping a lot of nuggets today. We're talking about learning to live by facing death with Shawna Barlette. And Shawna, so one piece of advice for families facing an in-life decision, what would you say to them?
I definitely have one. I think that every one of us should protect our end-of-life choices. And the best way to do that is to create clear advance directives while you can. Appoint somebody that you trust to act as your proxy or agent. And also consider a spiritual and community witness such as myself, a doula, somebody that can hold space and advocate for you. Because without these protections, if you don't have it in writing, your final wishes may not be honored by your family or even institutional control. And that's what I mean by the medical world or fear. Side note is I actually do those. Is a myth that you need an attorney to do them. You don't.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, you do not. And I prepare them for a super affordable price. Super affordable. So yeah, if people are interested, that's something I do. Like I said, there's like 4 main pieces to that. One is an advance directive, which is really a document where you lay out, basically this is what life support looks like to me. Right? That's kind of the basics. Here's kind of the things I want. And that's a medical, if you can't speak for yourself, their document will speak for you. A healthcare proxy will speak for you if you cannot speak for yourself. So it's important that you find somebody you trust and that shares your values, your ethics, and your morals. It's very important that you get the right person. I also prepare durable power of attorneys, financial documents for people, and a simple will. And I'll counsel people that if you got something bigger than that, you better see an attorney. That's when you do need an attorney.
How can people find you, Shawna? Where your Instagram, Facebook handles, website? How can we find you?
Well, the best place is the website. It's thedoulahearts.com. All one word, TheDoula Hearts, HEARTS.com. There's a contact form on there that goes straight to Gmail. Or I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. I am on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I'm not very good at Instagram. Not my favorite thing. But you can find me. Just search for the Doula Hearts. I do have a practice here in Raleigh, North Carolina. But I do remote work. I do on-site work if, like, I had a client in Arizona and a client in Florida. So mainly I would direct you to the website because it's got a whole lot of information that's educational in nature as to some of it starts demystifying and busting some of those myths kind of right away.
Do you do conferences or seminars or speaking engagements?
I do. I was actually asked to speak to Wake County Public Library System. So I did a Zoom call and I did an in-person with them. This is my second podcast, which is, I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah.
And I'm happy, like I said, I am happy to talk to anybody, anytime, anyplace, anywhere about the topic. Just if this reaches one person again, then it's been worth everybody hanging out for the time to listen.
You heard it here. We're with Shawna Barlette. If you need any information, please reach out to her. And if you can't find her, you can reach out to me. Shawna, it has been such a pleasure having you here on the show. It is awesome seeing you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Any last words for us?
I think let's just not be afraid to talk about this, because when you start to talk about it and start that conversation and write it down, that's when you'll start to feel, I think, freer to just live this beautiful life that we've been gifted.
Great words. Shawna Barlette, learning to live by facing death. Thank you so much. And I look
Thank
forward
you.
to part 2 of this interview.
Let's do it.
You have a great day, okay?
You too. Thanks so
Take care.
much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.